Okay, ladies and gents, what up? It's your favorite Asian robot right here, hopefully your favorite Darktide YouTuber, and today I'm gonna cover Traitor's Curse Part 2. The patch notes are out. We've tested it live on stream. It is awesome. The link to the stream is in the description of the video if you want to see all the stuff that we did and all the shenanigans we got into. But here's what's happened, alright? So here's what's in the patch right now. There's a new mission called Warren 619, and you will basically go in and destroy some Mobian production facilities for their stims and drugs and all that. Now, in this mission, you do have to run around quite a bit, but it's honestly quite a fun mission, and we've had a lot of fun with it. The Karnak twins will start ambushing you, and they can ambush you anywhere. That being said, their ambushes are really sad. I'm so sorry, guys, but I know some people said, damn, they came in and wiped my team. I was thinking to myself, you for real? Because if you check out the stream, in every single time the Karnak's twins appeared, we ripped them to shreds and they died and then they left. So you can't kill them. They will drop down to about 80% hit points and then they'll vanish, but they can corrupt you. And they basically, one twin will use mostly melee attacks. I think that's Rinda, and Rodin will use mostly range attacks, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I could have gotten it wrong, because I didn't really pay attention to their names. They just died so fast that I was like, okay, whatever. But then again, we are fully geared pro team, so that made a bit of a difference. That being said, the fights are not too difficult. Just for the range guy, make sure you avoid his grenades, because his grenades will continuously stay on the ground. They do not disappear. And until he recasts them, so even after his death they will stay, well, even after his escape they will stay there, and they will corrupt you very fast. So get in quickly and start wiping him. Don't be afraid to melee them, and let me tell you, the chain axe does a lot of work on them, so you might want to get yourself a nice chain axe with bloodletter, because it will absolutely rip the stuffing out of these dude and dudette, I guess. Alright, so that was the Karnak twins. They're a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy the encounter. They're not difficult, so don't worry too much. They're basically the assassination boss, but without a shield. I still wish that the fight was harder. I would hope that two twins would come and attack us at the same time, but oh well, we got what we got, right? Okay, there are some new weapon marks that you guys have to be aware of. The first two are for the veteran. That's the Munitorium Mark III and Mark VII. And the Brute Brainer Mark 19 and 5 are for the Ogren. Both of them have a unique special action where you fold the shovel and it allows you to do a specialized attack. The veteran shovels can deal a significant amount of damage. However, they generally require you to 2-tap, say a Crusher or a Mutie or things like that, and you kind of have to hit the head. I didn't find the attacks too good, but I will do a separate video going through all these weapons on another day, so do look forward to that. For the Brute Brainers, they seemed pretty cool, but the Ogren experts in my channel said that they wouldn't be using them, so I would trust their judgment on these matters. So yeah, I have no real comments on those because I don't play the Ogren enough, but if you guys find a good use for them, you know, feel free to share it whenever we're streaming. But yeah, for the veteran one, I don't know, I'll let you guys decide on that. If I had to pick a shovel, I'd still stick with my standard one that's non-folding, you know? Either way, right now, what you want to be using is a chain axe. Oh my god, the Orestes Mark 12. It is the blessed chain axe that will make you feel like a berserker of corn. You want to one-shot a Crusher? You can do that with this. You want to one-shot a Mauler? You can do that with this. You want to one-shot everything in the game? You can do that with this. Yeah, just rev it up, heavy attack, and if the attack fully completes, that thing is going to die. That's how brutal it is. So, it's a good weapon. Also, because the light attack is for horde clear, it's very easy to use. I've been using it on my veteran. You'll probably see it featured in a lot of my veteran builds because it's just so easy to use. And even with lag, I was playing on NA server because my own server was terrible. NA server with 200 ping. Still shredded through everything, so it was pretty beautiful. Haven't tried the Eviscerator. I will do a comparison when I get the chance. The Cadia Mark 13 Assault Chainsword. Basically, the light attacks will become your horde clear, and the heavy attacks will be your strike down. In terms of whether it's useful or not, it feels pretty much the same as the other Chainsword. My only thought is, sorry, it's late at night when I'm filming this, but I really wanted to get this out for you guys. My personal thought is that the KDM Mark 13 compared to the other chainsword, it's a personal preference. The other chainsword, the horde clear would be the heavies, whereas the light attacks would be your strike down. But I think that I would not shy away from the original chainsword. It would still be just fine. But either way, what you want to use, if you're going to use a chain weapon, is grab it yourself a chain axe. You will thank yourself, because it is brutal beyond words. I have no doubt that the Eviscerator could probably also be just as good. In fact, I'm looking forward to trying it when I get the chance. But the chain axe, oh, that's something else. You really got to try it out. Okay? For the quick draw stub revolver, the new one, that is the Agrippina Mark 14. The quick draw stub revolver, this one comes with a speed loader, all right, which is really nice. And of course, I'll go through the weapon comparison again, but tomorrow when we do all the weapons and I showcase all of them. But what I will say about this is that the brace fire where you fan it doesn't feel like fanning because you have to click. For me, I have to click my primary fire. If I hold down the primary fire, it doesn't fan automatically, so it feels really weird and feels kind of bad for a fanning revolver. That being said, I'm sure it still has a lot of potential, so I'm actually going to be trying it out in the field soon, so that we can give you guys a more thorough, comparison. But it's an interesting one for sure, and speed reload is definitely high on my list of fun things about this. So yeah, I think it can be a fun revolver if used well. It also has a higher ammo count, so you'll be able to enjoy that quite well. In terms of the Cantrell Heavy Last Pistol, this one is basically just a stripped down last gun. I did not enjoy it when I compared it to the normal last pistol. Why? Because it felt like it was very jerky when aiming. The damage didn't really seem like it compensated a lot more for that, but take a look and see how you feel. I think the original last pistol is better because this is a heavy last pistol, and the jerk on every shot just felt really weird. The new Katakan Combat Blade, basically it does the same damage on the lights and heavies as the original Combat Blade. At least that's what I found thus far. And with the right perks, it will feel just the same. Oh, camera zoomed out for a second. But I think that one thing which you will have to be aware of for this new Katakan Combat Blade is that the heavy attacks are all sweeping. So although they still do a fair amount of damage, because they're all sweeping, you might see more use for it in a horde, but overall the original Combat Blade was already very decent at horde clears, so especially on a zealot. So I don't really see this being very useful. My stream had a lot of the same judgments, but I leave it up to you. You can see and judge for yourself when you get a chance. Okay, stims. So stims will now occupy a new combat slot. All right. So there's a new combat slot, so you don't have to sacrifice a med pack just to pick up a stim. You'll find a lot of them in the levels, even in Auric Damnation. And they come with a variety of effects, but basically because the stims only really last for about 15 seconds, which I'll show you later on in the patch notes, the stim that I like the best is the medical stim. Now the best part about the stims is that you can actually use it on somebody else, so you can stim somebody else, which is hilarious. And my friends were doing that to me all night, which was freaking funny. You can even gift the consumables. Now this works for both the medipack and the stims. You can gift it to other players, all right, by using the special action, and you can just pass them a stim if you want to do that. All right. In terms of stim types, the med stim will restore 1 health segment or 25% of max health, whichever one is larger. Okay, so if you have 2 wounds and you use a med stim, you instantly restore that wound. So it's really good. Rather than 25% max health, you get back the full wound if you're fully corrupted. So that's really good. Med stims can't be used on target, on oneself or other players if the target has no health or corruption damage to restore. The combat stim, celerity stim, and the concentration stim all last 15 seconds. Combat stim gives you more rending and power, which is great, and reduces peril generation temporarily. The celerity stim will increase reload speed, reduce stamina costs, increase your attack speed, and also increase like charge up speeds, the smite speed of propagation, assail shard speed, quelling speed, all that. Basically this turns you to Sanic. You go fast. For your concentration stim, what it does is that it will basically regenerate your cooldowns at 300% speed, which is hilarious, but it only lasts for 15 seconds. So what does this mean? If your cooldown is like, let's say, your cooldown is basically going to be like 1/3 of what it normally is. So a 30-second cooldown becomes 10 seconds. All right, and it lasts for, well, that basically you would just get one recharge out of it. All right, so I'm not a fan of the concentration stim. Mostly I just pick up the med stim because it's just so useful. The combat stims, you can pick them up if you got space and just jam it into somebody. Now, the veteran tree rework has happened and it is so good. It is so good. All right, there are so many good ways. Like, they basically changed the bottom trees. It's so achievable to not only get a keystone, but also some stuff from another tree and progress through it. Right now, the veteran is in a great spot. Wait for the new veteran builds because they're going to be absolutely amazing. I suggest you try it out for yourself because, honest to God, this has been amazing. I'm loving the veteran rework. Now, when it comes to the changes that have been made to combat abilities, okay, they have fixed some issues for Assail and Smite where your Blitz would not be wielded again when you got catapulted by an enemy. Remember, some people complained about how they would switch to a ranged weapon or a melee weapon. It happened to me, but I was just so used to it that it didn't really matter. Yeah, this will no longer happen. They have fixed an issue with Brain Burst, but nobody uses Brain Burst, so that's okay. Quickening and Prescience were both active at the same time. They fixed that issue. I don't know what this issue was because I never used them together for now. They fixed it so that the Psyker's Blitz ability, Smite, and it also applies to the Surge Staff, which is later on in the patch notes, but now they will always hit center mass, so you can no longer hit weak spots with this. This means that the Psyker builds where we took advantage of them hitting weak spots to get true aim will no longer be valid, but that's okay. We're going to come up with new Psyker builds. I've already done some loose testing on it that is pretty much showing us that it works just fine. So yeah, we shouldn't see a problem with this. Now, the other thing that I'll say is that for the veteran, they fixed an issue where Onslaught could be triggered by damage over time effects, so now this will no longer happen. They fixed an issue where the veteran's Infiltrate combat ability was interrupting or preventing sprint. They fixed an issue on where Born Leader didn't replenish toughness of allies when the player was at max toughness, yeah. They have now fixed an issue where talents weren't reset when running a preset with an incorrect talent. Okay. Now, in terms of weapons and blessings, the Orestes Mark IV Assault Chain Axe, they've made the heavy attacks faster and decreased chain times into and from the heavy attacks, yeah. The heavy attacks have increased cleave. Now, this is for the old chain axe. They've increased the armor damage modifiers, updated the light chain. They've increased damage on initial hit of weapon special activated attacks, yeah. And that's about it. Now, this is the old chain axe. If you want to use it, you can. It's definitely not a bad weapon. And although I'm more in love with the new chain axe, this one is still pretty good if you like it. All right. In terms of the assault chainsword, this is the old model. They've added impact on the final damage tick on light sawing, so enemies will get staggered after being sawed at. They've increased the damage on initial hit of the weapon special activated attacks. The Heavy Eviscerator, the weapon special activated attacks, they've got increased damage on the initial hit for both the light and the heavies, yeah. For the Munitorium Sapper Shovels, the downward strikes now prioritize enemy heads above the body. The chaining of the weapon special attack itself is now faster. Oh, excuse me, forgive the yawn. The light attack damage has been increased. All right, and the armor damage modifier versus maniacs has been increased on the first target. The heavy attack damage has increased power as well. So this is the normal Munitorium. If I'm not wrong, this is not the new one, right? Let me just double check. Oh, it is. Okay, so I guess that applies to the new ones as well. But yeah, this seems to be a modification that they made after playtesting, probably. For the Brood Brainers, the Ogryn's heavy attack relentless damage profile versus unarmored and infested has been increased on the first target. Okay. For the Iron Helm Mark IV Thunderhammer, the push now combos into heavy 3 to provide a faster way into a strike down heavy attack. Also fixed a bug where Heavy 3 didn't use the correct damage profile and did not deal more damage than the activated sweep attacks in Heavy 1 and 2. They've buffed the base damage for this Heavy activated strike down, so the Iron Helm will now do more damage. More than Heavy 1 and Heavy 2, but still less than the Crucis Mark II Thunderhammer. Push follow-up now combos into Heavy 2 instead. Okay. Katakan Mark III Combat Blade. They've increased the base power of the weapon's special jab attack, so now the jab attack can be used to stagger enemies, and they've adjusted the attack damage and impact distribution accordingly. Okay. For the Ogryn Cleavers, they've aligned all Ogryn Cleavers to have the chain time into Heavy 2 at 0.5 seconds. The Cork 4 was significantly faster. This makes the other two Cleavers faster and evens them out since the attack is similar. Graya Mark IV Braced Autogun, they've increased the base damage for this, okay, by about 20%. The Akatran Mark II Heavy Last Pistol, they basically have the beams causing less suppression. This is the original Heavy Last Pistol. And the attack speed has been reduced because basically people had to use an auto clicker to even take advantage of it. So now you don't have to do that anymore. They've moved the attack speed back to what it was, but none of the other stuff has been changed other than the beams cause less suppression, so they shouldn't be ducking all the time. The Quick Draw Stub Revolver received a nerf. Okay, so the nerf to the Quick Draw Stub Revolver was mostly to Carapace armor damage. Did this affect how you kill Crushers? No, you can still 2-tap them, but I don't think you can 1-tap them anymore. There is a further nerf to the Hand Cannon Blessing as well, which I'll talk about later. But basically, the Carapace armor nerf, it doesn't affect you as much as you think, so don't worry too much. Gotta have a hot drink while doing this, right? As you can see, the Surge Forge Staff has now no longer gotten the randomized damage. It will now only hit the torso. The Hellbore Last Guns, you can now hold the primary action button to continuously shoot with Hellbore Last Guns while in ADS. We tested this live on stream, that's not the case. I'll happily show it tomorrow unless it gets hotfixed, but basically, even if you hold it down, it'll just hold the charge at maximum and it will auto-fire after some time. So, I'm not quite sure how this is supposed to work. Unless I am wrong about it, but yeah, you cannot hold the primary action button to continuously shoot. So, and also they fixed an issue with the Magna Core Plasma Gun, where the primary attack was overcharging differently based on charge rate stats. So yeah, this should not be a problem. I didn't notice it being a problem before, but apparently it was, so there you go. I can certainly say that after trying the Plasma Gun, it functions exactly the same as it did before, so maybe I was the only one, like, maybe my charge rate was already high, or I didn't really see any difference, but yeah. So this should not be a problem for anyone that was taking advantage of it. I guess they'll lose that, but since we didn't, and our Plasma Gun builds feel exactly the same, there's no issue on that. For the standard Mutatorium Sapper Shovel, they fixed an issue with defense stat that was affecting dodge distance. Okay, so only the mobility stat will affect dodge distance. This one, I guess it could be seen as a nerf, because the mobility on the Sapper Shovel is going to drop, but again, ever since the Chain Axe, I have not touched the Sapper Shovel, so I'll give it another test, I'll give it a whirl another day. The Vrax Headhunter Mark III, they fixed an issue where bursts would break and not shoot enough bullets if you had a too high attack speed buff, so this might help out the Headhunter users, I guess. Now you can actually go see the numbers yourself if you want to. This is on this section. Okay. For the blessings that have been changed, the Hand Cannon Blessing has now been changed down from at tier 4 from 80% down to about 60%. It's basically lost about 20% of the rending that we had before. So it's a double whammy nerf to the revolver, but like I said, with the updated veteran builds, it's not going to be a problem. Rending bonuses are now capped at 100%, well, they've always been capped at 100%, but I guess we didn't know about that. So now Ruthless Backstab will follow this distribution in terms of the blessings, because there's no point in going above 100% rending. Alright, so this is it. In terms of combat, all right, there's a whole bunch of fixes which I suggest you guys check out. Mainly, Skull Crusher and Thunderstrike were showing 5% extra damage per stagger instead of the expected 10% per stack. So this should have altered. Let me know if any of you test with mods. Let me know if this is fixed or if it does what it's supposed to do. Yeah. Other than that, there is nothing in here that I feel was important to mention, but you can check it out for yourself. So these are some combat bug fixes. In terms of enemies, now this one is a major section. They have fixed the issue where a player could be healed by a medical crate after being eaten by a Beast of Nurgle. Never seen that before, but now you know. The health modifier of monstrous specialists in Maelstrom missions alone has been increased. It used to be 25%, now it's 40%. So monstrous specialists are going to be even more of a threat. The Daemon Host will now only kill one person on Uprising, Sedition, and Malice. And Daemon Host will no longer spawn in Sedition and Uprising unless you're playing Lights Out. Okay? So I felt this change was extremely negative because I'm not a fan of this change. I feel that even in the early stages of the game, people need to be aware of the Demon Host and need to be taught to avoid the Demon Host, or, you know, they need to be taught this thing exists. So I don't know why they said this shouldn't spawn on Sedition and Uprising, but I'm not a fan of this. Now here, they have lowered the Rager's base health from 1,200 to 1,000, and Ragers should now be more easily heard. The change is pretty positive. So Ragers, they die fairly easily now, even in Damnation, and I think you'll be able to blast through them quite well with a plasma gun. I certainly have been, and the plasma gun has been beautiful. That being said, I guess the Rager spam isn't going to be as much of a problem for people anymore. So I don't know if it'll make things a bit too easy. I'll leave the judgment up to you guys. For fire, now this is another major change that I think is really important. For fire, it will no longer instantly set your toughness to 0. They have slightly increased the base damage of fire, and they have increased the flamer's action speed and fire size. Okay, they've removed toughness regen while standing in fire, and changed damage to tick higher the longer you stand in fire to compensate. So basically, it's not going to insta-gib you, but you're still going to take a lot of damage the longer you are in the fire, so you want to get out as soon as possible. So yeah, just be aware of that. This way, even if you briefly touch fire, you will just take a little bit of damage. But, I mean, well, it's not a little bit. At Damnation, it's quite a lot. But it won't instantly set your toughness to 0. Okay? They've changed some armorings for the Scab Bomber. The lower arm and head is now unarmored. The Scab Trapper, they've changed the cooldown for when the shot net is aborted. And they've decreased the range stagger threshold a lot. They increased the minimum spawn range when using dynamic spawns. And they've increased the cooldown by 2 seconds. The sniper lasers are now brighter, so you should be able to see them in outdoor missions more easily. They fixed an issue where the Crusher and Scab Trapper were spamming the voiceover lines, so hopefully you won't hear the Trapper sounding like a record whenever they're in, whenever you're in the elevator and they go crazy, yeah? They've reduced the amount the Conflict Director ramps up difficulty on low and mid difficulties, yeah? Alright, that's about it. In terms of missions, they've added some speedrun prevention blockers for the relay station. They've improved bot and enemy navigation around destructible props, fixed an issue with a fence in Complex, fixed a bug that allowed players to fall out of the map instead of dying in Spell to Complex. They've added more chests and pickup locations in Ascension Riser, Chasm Station, Chasm Logistratum, Smell to Complex, and Enclave Baros. There were some minor visual fixes and improvements to several missions. The HUD and UI, I don't think there's anything important here, but you can check it out if you want. And they fixed some miscellaneous things, such as clipping around the Veteran Steel Legion flak helmet, and the Ogren Bring the Hurt penance not progressing while using the Bombs Away talent, so you should be okay now to have this talent and progress that. And they've added a custom VFX when sawing into the Captain's Barrier Shield. By the way, fun fact, if you want to saw into the Captain's Barrier Shield, use the Chain Axe, alright? Basically, the Chain Axe is the star of this patch, and you must use it, alright? That brings us to the end of the patch notes. I hope that you guys will enjoy patch number 16. All right. This has been awesome. And I am genuinely having so much fun with it right now. So yeah, you guys enjoy this patch, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm not gonna waste your time. I'm gonna hit the hay so I can do even more videos for you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much, and catch y'all on the next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, okay? I'll see y'all on the next one. Get you in the game.